Welcome to Creature Covenant with Dr. Adriana, a world movement that celebrates the healing power of the sacred human-animal bond. Now, here is Dr. Adriana.
Thank you so much again for another chapter of Creature Covenant. I'm so happy to be here tonight, and I have my expert panel today. We're going to talk about phototherapy, especially phototherapy patching, and how can people and animals benefit from this amazing way to approach symptoms, and animals have a better quality of life just as people. I want to make a disclaimer here. We're not going to be talking about treating conditions. We're just going to talk about, this is daily informative and for entertaining purposes. We're just going to have a discussion here about this new way of address symptoms and also have a better quality of life. So with no further ado, I want to introduce my friends Connie Lucas and Eluv, who are my experts, and we're going to go ahead and start a discussion about phototherapy. Let's go start with Connie. Tell us about yourself.
Well, thank you, Dr. Adriana. I am Connie Lucas. I've been a certified health coach for about 17 years. I've taught corporate wellness with humans, and I've been involved with pharmaceutical-grade nutraceuticals for years and nutrition, and had recently, about 2 years ago, discovered a new technology that was a phototherapy or light technology. And the company that I discovered this with had been around for 17 years, but they had recently, at the beginning of 2019, had a really amazing discovery in being able to activate or upregulate your body's own stem cells. So this was just absolutely cutting edge technology. It was really exciting to start seeing the results on my clients and myself, my husband, my family, and my friends. And so that's what we're going to talk a little bit about today.
Wonderful. And Eluv, who introduced me to phototherapy, of course, and she has a lot to share herself and her own experience, not to mention that she is also a healer. And why don't you just tell us about your background, Eluv?
So my background is as a sound healer predominantly, and I've also been involved with epigenetic health and wellness. A little bit like Connie, we've gone down a similar path, and my exploration into different modalities led me to the technology, and things that are really cutting edge is something that fascinated me. And so the beginning of the journey with this technology was both for myself and also for my own animal friend who happens to be a bunny rabbit.
Awesome. Well, I want to thank you for introducing me to phototherapy patches, because I think that has made a huge impact in some of my patients. I've seen it myself. So let's just go start with the discussion of what is exactly patching in phototherapy. How does this technology work in the alleviation of symptoms in both people and animals? So Connie, could you, and before you go, I wanted to briefly say that phototherapy has been in history, been used since like the Greeks. It's not something new. It's something that is natural, is using the light and the infrared light that living things like ourselves emit, and then it's taking advantage of that light and activating it to produce a beneficial effect in our bodies. Basically, that's what we're talking about. But Connie, would you let us know or introduce us more in depth of how this patching and how this technology works?
Well, you're absolutely right. So it was very interesting because it works in the simplest way. It works the way the sun works on your body. So when the sun hits your body, a certain light from the sun will trigger melanin, and you will get tanned, right? Other types of sunlight, when it hits your body, utilizing the body's cholesterol, it'll turn it into vitamin D. So that's the simplest form to say of how phototherapy works. When it comes to the technology or the patches, you're using, to your point, your body's own infrared light source, which is your infrared heat. That is what activates the patch. That goes into the nanocrystals that are inside the patch and basically reflects back some sort of length of light wave. And so depending on the patch depends on what the light wave triggers. So there are patches for pain, there are patches for inflammation, there are patches to upregulate the immune system, all types of different things. And when it comes to the stem cell technology, that technology upregulates a copper peptide called GHK-Cu. And you could go into pubmed.gov and just type in the search GHK-Cu, and you will see a plethora of studies over the last 4 decades, most of them done by a brilliant man named Dr. Lauren Picard. And you'll see, if you aren't into reading big published studies, they have lots of abstracts. And it shows that GHK resets over 4,000 genes. It shows that it produces collagen, that it reduces inflammation, that it does all of these wound healing and all of these spectacular things, and that it upregulates the body's own stem cells. We found from our own research that it not only activates and makes your own stem cells younger and more active, but it can take skin cells and turn them into what are called polypotent stem cells, and those are stem cells that can become anything in the body. So an easy way to talk about that is that your stem cells are like little robovacs in your body. They're just going around looking for work, looking for things to clean up, particularly when you're young. That's why we heal so well when we're young. And as we get older and we have older stem cells and not as many stem cells, we don't heal in the same way. So with that being said, your body is the miracle, and those stem cells are looking for work, but you don't get to decide what they're going to heal. For example, for me, when I use the product personally, I noticed that good sleep within the first 24 hours. But then I was very healthy. I've done a lot of nutrition work, a lot of detox over the years. So I didn't notice anything till about a couple weeks in, when I was recovering quicker from workouts. Then 2 months in, an old meniscus injury started to activate. And I called up a doctor friend who'd been using this technology for many years. And I said, why is this hurting? And he said, when stem cells heal, they slough off dead cells. Those dead cells create inflammation, and your body needs to remove those dead cells. And that inflammation can sometimes hurt, which means sometimes you can get a retracing or an old injury that hurts again, but it will heal. And once it's healed, it's healed. It's not like you've just suppressed the symptoms, correct? So in animals, it's a little different. Like, I really applaud you for being able to be in tune with your patients, because they can't tell you what's hurting. They can't tell you when it's feeling better, it's working. I can work with a client and I can say, how's this feel? What happens when I move it here? And they can tell me. With animals, you have to be a little more in tune. But I know my little Yorkie, I love the fact that animals have no placebo effect.
That's right. Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
So that's a beautiful thing. They're not just making this up, and it's all in their heads.
They can convince themselves that they're healing, right? It's either helping or it doesn't.
Or it doesn't. So what a great testimony to that. And I know my little Yorkie, when I first tried it on her, she is 11 years old, and she had injured her paw somehow and was limping around on her paw. And I thought, well, this works on me, and I know it can work on animals, so I'm going to try it. And I had taken this, because she doesn't wear a collar, I took the stem cell patch and I just put it into her kennel. And it was very interesting because I could almost tell that she knew it was there. Like, she could feel something, right?
Yes.
And she would monitor herself, how often she was in there. She didn't just go in there and lay on it forever. And then I took the Eon patch, which was for inflammation, and I wrapped it around her little paw. And the next morning I got up and she was just running all over the place.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
It's wonderful. And, it's so important to know that it's something that you have an intrinsic way to, your body already intrinsically has that mechanism of self-healing, of deal with inflammation, of oxidative changes, and then, like you said, as you age and we're exposed to chemicals and we are exposed to stress and other things, so that capacity of the body to heal itself is diminished. And what these patches are doing basically is activating those self mechanisms that we have to heal and to repair our bodies, which is absolutely amazing. Really, what valuable information. So just to go deeper, in a sense, now that we're going through into how the patches work, one that I have been very interested in finding out lately is the glutathione. The glutathione is it blocks that oxidative change in the body, right? It's
Right.
almost like, I think about it, it's like an antioxidant, so it's kind of like a rejuvenation type of patch. Isn't that right?
Would you like me to take that, Eluv?
Sure. I'll just say that it's a major detoxifier.
Awesome.
Is one of the elements.
Awesome. Eluv, so tell us about your own experience with the patches, and how I know that you started, how were you introduced, and what was your personal experience with the patches? Because it's a really, really interesting story.
Okay, so I was introduced through a doctor, and I had gone in to get my regular checkup. And he said to me, "Do you have any pain?" And I said, "Yes." And he said, "Where is it?" And I showed him my lower back. And he said, "Bend down and let me see your range of movement." So I did that. And then he stuck a patch on me and said, "Do your range of movement again." And I did the range of movement. But not only did I have greater range of movement, the pain had gone away, like really quickly. And I said, "Is this real?"
All right.
Like
your brain's kind of thinking because we're human, I went into my logical, like, how could this be?
Right.
And so that was the beginning of it. And then I was really curious about the animals. And I love what Connie, both of you, has said about the animals being very neutral. Like, they don't have an opinion. It either works or it doesn't. So when my bunny rabbit had gone through some stasis, which is kind of like the energy's blocked, they get a tummy ache, that kind of thing. And there was a time period where she wasn't energetically able to kind of get through it. So I thought to myself, well, let me put the patches on, these particular patches, for her and see what happens. So I put a patch in each hand, and then I put her on top of my hands, and I just held her for a little while. Like, it could have been maybe up to 2 minutes. And then all of a sudden she starts wriggling and moving, and she jumped right off and started activating and just like normal. Wow. It was really incredible to watch because it was such a short period of time, and there's no denying it. And I know that when she's done that before, when she's gone through that before, it's been a very slow process. It could take hours for her to come back.
Right.
And this was like, oh my goodness. So I started using one of the patches underneath the cage. So she was sleeping on it, and I would notice that she would lay on top of the patch.
Amazing. It's like she knows.
Yeah, so that's been really interesting. The other thing that I found myself was a lot of clarity mentally, because I think that, going through the last couple of years, things have been a little fuzzy in a lot of ways. And I had a lot of studying to do. I don't think I could have done the amount of studying had I not had that clarity of mind, and something started to shift brain-wise. I'm not sure what it is. All I know is that it's brought me a lot more focus and clear thinking, which is so beneficial for, whether you're studying or not.
Well, and Eluv, I would add on to what Eluv's saying about that. If you go there, we do double-blind human clinical placebo-controlled trials. So this isn't just like, oh, we say this works. There's the patents, there's the scientific proof, there's the published studies, and there's a brain mapping study that's really fabulous that really shows the cumulative benefits of staying on the stem cell activation patch, because you can see the brain changing at 2 weeks, at 4 weeks, at 6 weeks. Wow. And so that's really is what's happening is your brain is changing, as you go along. So that's fascinating. I would add on too, when we're talking about glutathione. So as you said, Dr. Adriana, glutathione is the body's kind of master antioxidant, right? And the friend, Barbara, that introduced Eluv to this, I love what she says. She says, it's so important that it's the only antioxidant that God gave you that your body makes.
That's it.
Everything else you have to ingest antioxidants. And the technology, when you think about the technology of the fact, like Eluv's talking about putting it underneath the cage. I'm talking about putting it in the bed. It is not, you need to be very clear. Phototherapy, it is not transdermal. There are no chemicals going in. There are no drugs going in. We have, besides the regular proof of that, we had back in the early days of this company, we have a lot of Olympic athletes, professional athletes, people like that use the product. And back in the very, very earliest days of the creations of some of these phototherapy patches, the Olympic Committee thought that we were drugging our athletes because they were performing so well. And they had to go before the board, they had to testify to see, and they said, no, there is nothing going in the body. It is simply light. Yeah. Right. And as long as if it's 3 to 6 inches from your body or your animal's body, it's going to activate. The beautiful thing is, let's say for whatever reason, you wanted to stop the effect. So if you give your animals, or if you as a human ingest a supplement, ingest a medication, if things go wrong, if there are side effects, you have to then detox it out of your body, which can take quite some time, right? With this, if by chance something was not feeling right, you could simply take the patch off, remove it away from the body, and it stops.
That's right.
Right?
It goes away.
Yep. And so with glutathione, as you mentioned, the product that is the phototherapy stem cell patch that upregulates the GHK, that patch in and of itself upregulates glutathione in your body by 30% for 24 hours. That's more than going to a naturopath and having a $250 injection. And it does it every day you wear it, right?
Right.
If you need to detox more, or sometimes if you need some healing. My husband has had for decades and decades GI problems, doing everything you could think of. And he literally, at the advice of a doctor friend of ours, placed the glutathione patch on his stomach area where you would normally feel the pain from acid reflux and things like that. And he said it was just immediate. He's been doing that now for about little over a month, and he said nothing has worked that well. So it can be used for different things, but that glutathione patch upregulates glutathione by 300%.
Wow.
Which is massive for detox, to Eluv's point, and also for boosting the body's immune system. But if somebody is not doing well, let's say they maybe have some autoimmune diseases, maybe they're just really metabolically unfit, the glutathione patch could cause them to detox too quickly, and they will not feel well.
Right.
And they'll have to take it slower, right?
Slowly. Maybe start like a little bit, and then like just short periods of time, and then just kind of build it up as they start getting used to it.
an hour a day and then worked up. So an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, and then worked up until I could tolerate it.
Mm-hmm. And it depends on the work you need to do, because for me, when I first put on the glutathione, I mean, I was wearing the glutathione patch all along. I'd wear the stem cell one every day, and the glutathione during the times when we were shut down and everybody was kind of worried about the virus, I was wearing it daily. But you might as well, to me, from what I felt from it, you might as well have had a sticker on me. I literally feel nothing from it, but I feel nothing because I'm already detoxed. I'm already quite healthy, right? And so I don't have those issues. But let me tell you, when I did get sick and I put that on, I did not. I felt it. I really, really felt it.
Yeah. And you bring up something very important, like it keep ourselves hydrated, because our body is detoxifying. It needs to get rid of all of these toxins and mobilize them. So it's very important that we stay hydrated while we're doing all these processes, correct?
Correct. There's only really 2 rules. And the 2 rules are, one is no more than 12 hours on, and then you go 12 hours off, discard, place a new one on. And the reason for that is the attenuation. Your brain will, like if I was to tap, 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 tap on your hand over and over and over and over again, eventually your brain would shut it off and you wouldn't even feel it, right? So we don't want the brain ignoring the signal. And so we wear them 12 hours on, 12 hours off, and then a new patch 12 hours on. At the most, right? Now, if somebody accidentally left them on longer, I've definitely done that. Lots of people. That's not a big deal. It's just over time, right? So that's one rule. And the only other rule is hydration. And I've literally had clients that, after I patch them, I have them hydrate while they're sitting there, and they will notice pain relief much quicker. They'll notice the effects much quicker. It's working on your body's electrical system, and that your cells and your body's electrical system need hydration.
That's
so
true.
That's key.
And when we go to talk about animals, that also goes for your animals when we keep and make sure that they're drinking, because that same process is happening to them. It's very important that we do that. I have seen some protocols, specifically protocols that are for headaches, for migraines, alleviation of symptoms, really. Some people even have some what we call neurologic episodes. It has been reported that a lot of these cases is actually pretty dramatic and immediate, the effect that it has. So I personally have had it in the cases when I had a headache, and I place it specifically the ice wave, which is for pain. And those are 2 patches. One, the brown goes on the left side, and the white goes on the right. And then there's different places that you can use it for pain. I tend to put it on the side of my temporal area, and I immediately feel that alleviation. And it's not something it's actually pretty miraculous, because I just go about, and then I just tend to forget, oh wow, it's gone. And I wasn't even thinking about it. Or when you take an ibuprofen or something, and it kind of takes a while for it to take effect and you have to rest. I just keep going, and I'm like, oh wow.
Isn't it shocking how quick it can be? It's absolutely amazing. And I know when I was introduced to this technology, I was like, this is the craziest thing I've ever seen. I just started, anybody who could if you got close to me and, I'd be like, do you have any pain? And I was patching them all, because I'm like, I can't believe this works. And it works every single time. Yes. It's quite surprising. But a neurologist friend of mine that I work with these patches says, one of the things that's very interesting, and you guys kind of brought it up a little earlier, is the fact that it's the Eluv, you were talking about how sometimes, you couldn't believe it worked immediately, that different things happen. Again, when you take supplements, anything like that, it's privy, even medications, it's privy to what your microbiome, your GI tract can absorb. And for most people, if they're struggling and they're not metabolically fit and they have challenges, they have a very unhealthy GI tract. So they're not really, maybe they're getting 10% if they're lucky, of everything that they're putting in from a supplement, a healthy food diet, all the good things you're doing that you want to continue to do, but your body isn't able to utilize it. With the patch technologies, you get 100% competence immediately. So what this neurologist friend had found is that he was able to take people who he was putting them on a really healthy, high fat, high lipid diet. He was doing all the right, they were doing all the right things, supplementation, whatever it was, but it might take 6 months to a year to start getting movement. Using the patches, he could get really big gains very, very, very quickly, because of how it enhances everything. So I tell practitioners, anytime I'm talking to a practitioner, I said, it's not that you're not going to be doing the things you're doing, but this is going to enhance the clinical outcome of every single thing you do. And ultimately, that's what every practitioner wants for their patients.
Yeah, absolutely. It is so dramatic, and the experiences of some people, and I get in, thank you videos for the progression of this little dog that could barely walk. And when it is a patient I've seen for years, and she just could not stand up, and the owner was like, what can I do? And I said, well, she's old, she's got heart disease, she's got kidney problems, it's life, and I had her on pain medicine, all kinds of different things, that it was just nothing was helping this little dog, and she could barely walk. And then I was just actually preparing the owner to say, look, it's going to be a time where she's really not going to be able to stand, and it's going to be it becomes a quality of life issue. And that's when I was introduced, thanks to Eluv, to the patches. And I said, you know what? Let's try these patches. And she gave me a sample, and I didn't use it on myself. I used it on my patient. And then, try these patches. I mean, I know that they work great for, maybe that would be something that we might have to explore and see how it would work for her. We have nothing to lose at this point. And she was, okay, I'll do it. And then she sends me a video of her dog walking, taking down a step. And you could tell that she was struggling, but she couldn't even do that. And that was a thank you video. And then now she is running around, playing with the other dog, and she just she's on the patches. We started this back in June, and she is amazing, and this little dog is like 16. She's doing remarkably well. And it's amazing. I cannot explain it. It is amazing. So I'm sold, and I have been, not for every case I consider it. I go case by case. This is all mainly something that I'm doing empirically, because it's not really, these patches are not for pets. We know that they work on pets, and we have our own experiences. And when it comes to animals, there are some published studies in horses, which there's actually one of the patches is actually labeled for horses. The AccuLife is for pain, and some of these studies have involved thermal images before and after using these patches, and you can see the change. The thermal images of these areas where there's been a lot of inflammation, and after putting the patches on, how that thermal image change, and that inflammation goes down so dramatically. And you can see these are horses that are athletes, that are work horses, that they're a lot of performance we want to have performance out of them a lot. So there's a lot of they're athletes, right? So they need to have something that they can rely on quickly to help them. And the studies are remarkable. Veterinarians are using them widely. And this is something that can be used also on pets. And there's different types of things that we can use for the pets. Now, you don't have to, a lot of people ask me, can I just stick this to their fur? Is it going to fall off? And I said, yes, you can. That is one of the techniques. Typically, we put them around the neck, or depending on the area that we want to treat. We were talking about like your doggy, the paw. You can do it directly on the fur. You can actually do it under collar, underneath the collar. You can also underneath a blanket on top of them, like the dog, for example, is laying, and then you put a blanket on top of them, and then you can put the patch. You can sometimes stick it to our finger and put our hand, and then just pet the, we can pet him. So this has multiple applications, and it doesn't have to be in direct contact. Some are feathery friends. So applying a patch to a feather, not necessarily beneficial or good, but you can put it on the perch, underneath their little hutch. So there's all kinds of different things that we can do to help the pets. And like we said, if you don't see any, they can move away from it if they don't feel good, or we can just remove it and then the effect will go away. In my own personal experience, and I finally got information of a patient that I had use the HIT technique, and this patient was experiencing severe seizures, and on already two different types of medications that I use for seizures. Keep in mind that this is just alleviation of a symptom. We don't have a real diagnosis. We don't know if the pet has a tumor or other things. These are things that you have to talk to your veterinarian about. But in terms of the alleviation of symptoms, and I could never really get. I gave her the patches, and I could never really get a feedback. And then they call one day, how can we get these patches? And then I never got a feedback. I said, well, it must be working. And today I finally saw her, and she says, oh my gosh, thank you so much. I got a whole bunch of patches, and we haven't had a seizure in so long. They still take the medication, and that's important that they still take their medication. But she hasn't had a seizure in so long. And then if she ever has one, we put these patches, and you can see that the seizure is resolving. So
yeah, I've seen with the also with the one for inflammation, I have seen it really, we only market it for inflammation and for stress. And so for animals, a lot of times there's a lot of stressful factors for them, and some are a little bit more high strung than others. And it just balances the sympathetic and the parasympathetic nervous system. And you can, I've had people, send me pictures, and they're like, look at how calm, they've become. And so it just helps them help themselves to just calm down and, and relax.
Yes.
So if you're traveling, if you're, there's some kind of something going on that's really stressful for the animal, then putting that on there, you can also put it on their tag, besides their collar, it could go on their tag as well. But that one can help really calm them.
Oh yeah, I think there's so much potential that in things that we still have to discover about the patches and their applications, and what different types of combinations of patches we can use. So I mean, the possibilities are endless. I have had experience with the use of them personally during recovery and anesthesia, surgical procedures, dental procedures. And I can tell that the dogs, what I tend to observe with a dog that has been through that regularly, and what I tend to see when they have had the patches put nearby them on their body, underneath the blanket when they're recovering, or during the procedure, right close to where I'm doing my procedure. I have seen that dogs recovering, or animals recovering rather quickly. They don't recover screaming or in pain. So I definitely see the benefit. I can see it, and like we were talking about, it's either it works or it doesn't. They don't have a placebo effect. So I feel like this is, we can go on and on talking about the patches, and I think that I don't know. I mean, it's something new is coming, right? I mean, they have always ongoing research, and
we just released a new one that's pretty amazing, and more in the pipeline. And our owner is a brilliant scientist who, just it's always for the betterment of humankind, and as well as our environment, as well as the animals, as well as, the entire planet. It really is, what can we do to make things better? And one of the things that I talk to people about, because so many people are, get this, they don't, oh, are you selling me and whatnot? And I was on with a neurologist friend today, and somebody who has a very, very difficult diagnosis, and, walking through some things. And I said, look, my intention never is to sell you something. My intention is that you reach your goals and you get your desired result. That's the only thing that makes it worthwhile, right? It's about supporting somebody and helping them through the process, whether it's quick and easy. I mean, many people, it's like great and easy and it's instant. Oh my gosh, I feel so good. I have great energy, blah, blah, blah. That's the vast majority. But so many people are struggling right now with a lot of different things, and this can help them get to where they want to be. So that's really what it's about.
Wonderful. Well, we unfortunately are running out of time, but before we leave, I wanted to invite people to explore, to learn about patching, and they feel like this would be an alternative for them, and they're willing to consider it. By any means, go for it. Because we can go on and on about the benefits of patching, and I've seen the benefits on my pets, on my patients, and we're seeing on ourselves as well. So I want to exhort people to, if they wanted to learn more about the patches, there is a website that I can share, and it's livewave.com /Dr Adriana. And that's one way that you can get to, if you're interested, you can look at how to purchase them. What other studies or information you can recommend, Connie, about knowing more about the patches?
Well, like I said, you can do your own research on, the peptide of GHK that would help with the stem cell patch. But the other thing is if you go into your website of lifewave.com /Dr Adriana, you will see something that says products. Click on that. You'll see science. Click on there and you'll find they're very transparent. You'll find all the published studies and all the patents right there.
Wonderful.
And it's doctor as in DR.
Dr Adriana, that's correct.
Adriana, correct?
Correct, that's it. Thank you so much. I am so honored to have you in sharing all this information. Wish you all the best. Thank you. Pleasure to have you.
Thank you.